Refereeing in mixed martial arts is a tough task. Choosing whether or not to stop a fight is a judgmental call. It has to be made within seconds, and sometimes within a split second, which is why the margin for error is always there. There have been instances where referees took a bit too long to intervene, but there have also been times when they jumped in to stop a fight they weren't supposed to. Welcome to Takedown MMA, where today we'll take a look at fights that were stopped way too soon. Matt Wiman versus Danzig. We'll kick things off with arguably one of the most embarrassing submission calls a referee can make. At UFC 115 in 2010, Matt Wiman and Danzig locked horns in a bottom-tier lightweight matchup. Wiman pushed the pace and stayed one step ahead of his opponent at all times, before locking in a tight guillotine choke. Danzig was in danger, but he was defending himself pretty well. However, referee Yves Levine begged to differ as he decided to stop the fight, thinking that Danzig wasn't doing very well. A year later, the two fighters had to go at each other again, with Wiman emerging victorious in a fair and square manner. Shane Nelson versus Aaron Riley. Lightweights Shane Nelson and Aaron Riley took each other head-on at UFC 96 in 2009, where the two spent the first few seconds of the fight feeling each other out. 30 seconds into the fight, Nelson caught Riley off guard with a big punch and dropped him. Riley was in no danger of being finished, as Nelson resorted to vicious ground and pound. The referee, however, had other ideas and stopped the fight as Nelson went in for the kill. As is the case with all controversial decisions, the two rematched a year later, and Riley managed to avenge his controversial loss by unanimous decision. Ryan Jensen versus Steve Steinbeis. If a thumbs up isn't enough to show the referee that you're still defending well, then I don't know what is. That's exactly how Steve Steinbeis felt when he lost to Ryan Jensen in a controversial manner in 2009. Halfway through the first minute of their fight, Jensen secured a takedown, and after a minute and a half of trying to advance position to find a submission hold, Jensen managed to wrap his arm around his opponent's neck with a tight guillotine. Steinbeis was defending well, and even gave the referee a thumbs up, but the referee ignored it, stopping the fight a few seconds before the end of the first round. The decision was booed by the crowd. Danny Roberts versus Claudio Silva. Danny Roberts faced a similar situation as Steinbeis when he fought Claudio Silva in 2019. After a tough back and forth, Roberts was caught in a submission hold by Silva in the third round. As the Brazilian attempted to torque an arm, Roberts appeared to elicit some sort of sound, causing referee Kevin Satake to step in and wave the fight off. Roberts immediately protested the result as he thought he was wronged, and even Dana White agreed with him. This is what the UFC president had to say about the stoppage. Quote, "Kills me when these refs f*** up and steal such a great fight and opportunity from not just the fighters but the fans. Danny Roberts, I am so sorry." An emotional Roberts took to Instagram to complain about the referee's decision, saying that he had a young family to feed, but the referee couldn't care less about it. Leandro Silva versus Drew Dober. When Drew Dober took on Leandro Silva in Brazil in 2015, he knew he was up against someone who'd be going for submissions all night long. That's exactly what happened when Silva dropped for a guillotine midway through the fight. Dober was defending it perfectly, but the referee didn't think so. Interestingly, Dober slipped his head out of the choke almost exactly when referee Eduardo Herdy waved it off. The stoppage was so embarrassing that it was overturned into a draw by the Brazilian Athletic Commission. Renan versus Urijah Faber. Having already defeated Faber once, Renan added insult to injury when he beat Urijah Faber by a controversial TKO in their title rematch at UFC 169. Much of the talk heading into the fight was about the improvements Faber had made to his game, but Barao was simply the better fighter overall, and he proved it by outstriking Faber and dropping him early in the first round. Faber managed to get back to his feet but was dropped again. Barao pounced on him like a bloodhound and landed one hammer fist after another. Referee Herb Dean was keeping a close eye on the action, but he missed Urijah's thumbs-up signal and waved off the fight. Faber was clearly upset because of the early stoppage, but to be fair, Barao was simply on a different level that night. Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. Former Olympian and multiple promotion MMA champion Ben Askren had a roller coaster of a UFC debut against Robbie Lawler in 2019. Funky had a terrible start to the fight, as after securing a takedown, he was picked up and slammed hard by Lawler, who continued to land bombs as Askren was forced into defense. The wrestling phenom stayed composed and quickly adjusted, before getting back to his feet and taking Lawler down in a similar position that saw him get slammed on his head earlier. Then advanced position and applied a bulldog choke that appeared to put Lawler to sleep. The former UFC welterweight champion's arm fell in a way that looked like he was asleep. However, he protested as soon as referee Herb Dean called a stop to the contest. Many think Dean should have done more just to be sure. Marcus Silveira versus Kazushi Sakuraba. UFC Japan in 1997 saw one of the worst early stoppages, if not the worst, in the history of mixed martial arts, when Marcus Silveira locked horns with hometown hero and legend Kazushi Sakuraba in the UFC Japan heavyweight tournament. More than half a minute into the first round, Sakuraba took a clean shot from Silveira and ducked under for a single leg to survive. The Japanese sensation wasn't in much danger, yet referee John McCarthy called a stop to the contest, thinking that he was badly hurt. The decision was overturned on the same night, and when the two fighters rematched, Sakuraba won by TKO. Henry Cejudo versus Dominick Cruz. In his first bantamweight title defense, Henry Cejudo welcomed Dominick Cruz back to the octagon after a 4-year layoff at UFC 249. Their fight lasted almost 2 rounds, where Cejudo was having the better of the striking exchanges, which was obvious because Cruz hadn't fought for a while and was trying to get into his zone. Cejudo's repeatedly attacked Cruz with brutal leg kicks and won the first round comfortably. In the second round, an accidental clash of heads busted Cejudo open, after which he upped the ante and started swinging hard at his opponent. In the final minute of the second round, the former 2-division UFC champ dropped Cruz with a vicious knee and followed it up with ground and pound until Keith Peterson stopped the fight. Cruz protested immediately, claiming that he was defending himself well. To this day, Cruz believes he was robbed of the opportunity to become a 3-time bantamweight champion. He even accused Peterson of being under the influence while refereeing.
My experience of him was smelling like he had been out all night the night before, like cigarettes and alcohol. And he could not make eye contact with me. I have never.
Ion Cutelaba versus Magomed Ankalaev. The first light heavyweight fight between Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba in February of 2021 was a weird one. The build-up to the bout was intense, as Cutelaba came in with a no-nonsense attitude, and Ankalaev was happy to play along. But the fight itself was very anticlimactic. Cutelaba played possum to get Ankalaev to throw down with him. The Dagestani obliged and landed one head kick after another. 30 seconds into the first round, however, Ankalaev threw a head kick and Cutelaba resorted to theatrical wobbles, which fooled the referee into believing that he was hurt. The fight was stopped, and Cutelaba protested aggressively, but he only had himself to blame. The two fighters eventually rematched in October of the same year, where Ankalaev stopped him in the first round. No theatrics this time around. With that, we have come to the end of our video on the UFC fights that were stopped too soon. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you can get notified the next time we upload one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.